All right, everyone, we got a lesson, a flip chart lesson, and it is on, as I trip through the chairs, the rules of Congress, which we have 5 different ones, and this is going to include lawmaking, representation, constituent service, public education, and oversight, which you can't see, but you'll be able to. Anyway, starting off with lawmaking, it's Congress's primary function. Okay? And what Congress does, they create laws for the entire nation. And also taking into consideration, as we all know, that congressmen tend to get influenced by their key constituents, which is just another way of saying there's districts, and also interest groups, as well as parties too. That's another one that we'll get in there and tell these different congressmen what to do. So that's the lawmaking process. So representation. It's really Congress's responsibility to ensure that their districts are heard. So this is what representation is going to be encompassing. And when I specifically say when they're heard, I mean specifically if the people being represented, that the congressmen are going out of their way to try and help them out, instead of just saying, well, all I care about is just for my own skin of being a congressional representative. They want to ensure, at least the Congress is supposed to ensure, that their districts or their constituents are heard. But the thing is, if congressmen aren't doing this responsibility, then you can probably infer that what's going to happen to these congressmen is that they're not going to be reelected. All right. So going to our next one, we have constituent service. And just taking a quick look at my notes. This is in regard to help out members of a congressman's community or also their district. But specifically on more of an individualistic sense, so like individual problems. I wrote cons just for short for constituents. Now, when I say individual problems, this could be something referring to as, somebody wants to get into a military academy, and a congressman takes that into consideration, and you happen to be a hard worker, then they're going to write a recommendation for you. So they'll do stuff like that, help people out, just in, some different forms and stuff in that fashion. And a way to really define this, it's also called casework. That's how your book defines this. You're more than welcome to look at your text for another interpretation, but this is how I interpreted it. Now, for our next one, we have public education. So, essentially what public education is going to encompass is just Congress's ability to just tell the people what's going on in their organization or in government. So they're notifying the people of the activities that they're taking part in, the possibility of them conjuring a new bill or legislation about something. So they also do this, and I know I kind of made fun of it for the most part, or made kind of a satire, was in regard to the franking privilege. So thinking back to our franking privilege and specifically Joe Pitts. But although those are considered to be forms of advertisement, there are also ways that the people are informed of what Congress is doing. Okay? So it can be used for 2 different methods, but that is the way in which Congress notifies the people of its current actions. So now we have oversights, our final role of Congress. So this is essentially Congress's watchdog ability. So with its watchdog ability, it's making sure that the legislation it's passed is actually being followed through, that people are actually doing what is supposed to be done. It can also be on kind of a more simplistic level, as just if some people are supposed to be getting Social Security checks at the end of each month, Congress is going to make sure that these individuals are getting the money they deserve. So just writing for watchdog ability, making sure things are getting done as they've been drawn up. And when I just say drawn up, just for clarification, I just mean the way in which the laws are written. Nonetheless, another oversight capability is also to prevent corruption. So what Congress will do, it will also create committees. So thinking back to our thousands of committees that exist, thousands at that is a little bit too high, but you get the idea. So Congress will create a committee. So for example, thinking back to the mid-1970s, we have Richard Nixon and Watergate. So what Congress did to investigate him, they created a committee, and it went out of its way to essentially prove that Richard Nixon was performing or partaking in unconstitutional acts, which they found out that he obviously did. Nixon would eventually be persecuted, and he would be impeached, but before he could actually be technically impeached or kicked out of office, he resigned. But nevertheless, that also is a historical example of Congress's oversight ability. Therefore, guys, those are the 5 different roles of Congress. So lawmaking, representation, constituent service, public education, and also oversight. So I hope this helped you out, and I will see you guys at some point in class. Have a nice night. Take care.